My system didn't think, you know, maybe this model just doesn't fit me. Nah, it thought, you must not be trying hard enough. Try harder. You're watching the Wow podcast. I'm Jennifer Robin. This conversation is for informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Full disclosure is in the description. Welcome back. Last week, we talked about the compulsion to build things, like businesses, that you might not actually want, and some common reasons for why that happens. I also shared some ways I'm using AI to help me identify patterns in my life as it mirrors things back to me that I've journaled about. And I promised that this week I'd explain what my 90-day experiment is, how even happy childhood memories can connect to nervous system patterns, and I said I'd tell you about what I call the little red lipstick lie. When you hear the words trauma response, what does it make you think of? Usually it has to do with painful memories and scary stuff. Difficult and traumatic events from our past shape who we become and who we are. But happy memories can do exactly the same thing. In the self-help realm, I don't think this is talked about enough. It wasn't a concept that was even on my personal radar. I mean, we're taught to uncover the shadows, the deep things, the things that we've hidden and tucked away. And nobody told me that nuggets were hiding in good memories and experiences too. I've been learning about how our nervous systems are pattern recognition machines. They're constantly scanning. What brings safety? What brings connection? What brings love? And when even something genuinely wonderful, consistently delivers those things, our system quietly files it away like it's saying, ooh, yeah, that's it. That's the stuff. Do more of that. And then we spend years, or sometimes decades, doing more and more of whatever that is. Even when the context of our lives has completely changed. Even when that stopped serving us a long time ago. Let's talk about a few examples so you can start noticing whether any of this might be showing up somewhere in your life. If you grew up in a house where Sunday dinners were this warm, abundant, everybody around the table kind of thing, where food meant love and togetherness and safety, your nervous system may have coded feeding people equals love and safety. So as an adult, maybe now you overfeed your guests, or you find yourself stress cooking when a relationship feels shaky. It's a happy memory that became a blueprint. Or maybe in your family, Christmas was the only magical time of year that everything felt okay. Maybe family tension eased and money worries disappeared just for a day. Your system might have learned from that. Abundance is temporary and we have to maximize it while it's here. Which can show up when you're an adult as spending too much, maybe overdoing celebrations, or feeling really, really sad when the holiday ends, even when everything's fine. Try to remember when you felt most seen, loved, and celebrated as a child. If those moments were connected to achievement, like when you got straight A's, earned an award, or made the team, your nervous system may have learned something very specific. Performing equals worth. Achieving equals love. So, like me, you might have kept performing, even when you feel exhausted, even when nobody is asking for the extra work you're doing, even if the praise, recognition, and positive attention don't even happen alongside it anymore. Because somewhere inside, your system, like mine, might still believe that if you stop, something important would be withdrawn, taken away from you. I have a specific memory of this that I want to share because I think a lot of you are going to recognize something in it. I was part of a statewide singing competition in high school, and I placed second or third soprano my first year. And during the concert that followed, I remember sitting with all the other students in the crowd, watching the first place winners stand up and get recognized as the audience applauded. And I made a pact with myself that next year, that was going to be me. Not because I needed a trophy, but because I wanted my parents and my friends and peers to see me stand up. I wanted that moment of being witnessed by the people whose opinion mattered the most to me. So I worked my butt off for it. And the next year, I did earn first place. But guess what? The committee decided that they didn't want anyone to feel left out and they didn't want anyone to feel bad. So they stopped that tradition of publicly recognizing the first place students. So I had accomplished exactly what I set out to do. And the moment I was really working toward that feeling of love and celebration, didn't happen. And maybe your version of this looks like the dance recital where you looked out in the audience and saw that your dad didn't show up. He wasn't there watching you. Or maybe it was the softball game where you got the winning run, but mom was tuned into her cell phone playing Candy Crush and she missed everything. She wasn't even paying attention. Does any of that feel familiar? Just notice what comes up for you and maybe journal any hints of where some of your own blueprints might have come from. One of mine started with those teeny tiny little lipsticks. Sometimes happy memories act like hidden treasure maps inside us. And I say hidden because we don't consciously realize that we're even following those maps at all. And usually we don't realize where those maps even lead to. Our nervous system thinks they lead to treasure like love and recognition and connection and celebration. But what if the destination doesn't even make sense anymore now that we're all grown up and we're adults? Or worse, I think, what if it's leading us somewhere that we don't even really want to go? Do you remember those teeny tiny little Avon lipstick samples from the early 80s? As kids, they were special treasures to us, and I distinctively remember even using them on my Barbie dolls. My mom had many businesses in her life, but the first one I remember clearly was that she was an Avon lady. She drove from house to house with her makeup sample case, helping customers choose items and place orders. And one night, she even took me to one of her sales meetings, which made a huge impression on me. And as a little girl watching her and seeing all the other empowered women in the room of the sales meeting, I just thought it was the coolest thing. My mom was her own boss. She had her own thing. Nobody told her when or how to work, and she seemed genuinely happy doing it. It was probably a combination of playing with those little lipstick samples and sitting at the round table with the women at the sales meeting, but my little girl mind made a decision. Someday, I'm going to have my own business too, just like mom. And that was a genuinely happy memory. Warm, aspirational, full of admiration for my mom. And then one of my mom's friends even earned a pink Cadillac from her business. If you grew up around Avon or Mary Kay in the 80s, you know exactly what that car meant. It meant she was a success, she was making money, she was a leader. And it was also tangible proof that the direct sales system worked. It meant that if you built it, if you just believed hard enough, if you put in all the work, the reward was real and visible and everyone could see it. I was super impressed. And my younger nervous system filed all that information away carefully as core beliefs like entrepreneurship equals freedom, Building your own business equals worth. And the car equals proof that you have made it. And if you're a little bit younger than me and the iconic door-to-door Avon lady is before your time, maybe for you, it was being impressed by an MLM, a girl boss Instagram grid, or someone sliding into your DMs about an amazing opportunity. They all kind of run on the same promise. The same idea that freedom is just on the other side of enough hustle or, 300 more social media posts. In my 20s, I was a sales manager for a different well-known direct sales company that flourished under the same mythology. Yep, I said mythology, not methodology. I'll explain why in a few minutes. Anyway, I hustled, I sold, I recruited people, I attended meetings, I held trainings, and I got the car. Mine wasn't pink, it was a zippy, shiny red car. I walked across stages, I received awards. People pointed to me as proof that that system worked. But financially, underneath the outward success, I was barely breaking even with that business. The car, the recognition, the status within the company, it was just the shiny outward impression of success. It wasn't a reality of success. This phenomenon is what I'm calling the little red lipstick lie, the promise of success and freedom from companies like this, when the majority of women don't ever experience that. Or they have experiences similar to mine, where they can enjoy the recognition and the awards and the perceived status, but don't actually get the full, well-rounded time freedom success that they were promised. And this is the mythology that I'm talking about. Only maybe 1% of people ever get that success, freedom, and high income. So what happens to the other 99%? Either they just keep trying harder and harder, or they jump to a different company and try all over again, or they feel ashamed that they just couldn't make it work. I mean, everyone else is doing it, why can't I? And that's a sad place to be. The freedom that I'd been promised since I was a little girl playing with those little lipstick samples, it never came. I just traded a traditional job with a boss for a system that demanded even more from me, like time away from my kids in the evenings to hold parties, like investing in an ever-changing inventory of samples and catalogs, and spending money on giveaway items to persuade people or bribe people to book parties with me, and attending 5 or 6 mandatory evening meetings every month, and dealing with a manager who was demanding, rude, and borderline abusive. Who wants that, right? I tried a few other direct sales and MLM companies over the years, trying to achieve the myth that was promised. Why? Because my nervous system had evidence, and it was gonna work its butt off to make it work. It's like it was whispering to my subconscious, you did it once, you got the car, you made it work. So every time something didn't pan out over the years that followed, my system didn't think, maybe this model just doesn't fit me. Nah, it thought, you must not be trying hard enough. Try harder. Try differently. Try again. Now, I want to be really clear that I do know some people who did earn a decent living with some of the things that I tried. But in each company, they were the minority, not the norm. And if you're involved with any of the things I mentioned, I'm not saying you're being foolish, and I'm not judging you in any way. I'm saying those things weren't a fit for me. At the same time I was hustling with some of those direct sales attempts, I found success with a different kind of business, and it taught me something important about why it worked better. I ran a licensed accredited childcare business on an Air Force base for 10 years. I almost always had a waiting list. I actually earned real income, real awards, 2 trips that were super fun, and genuine recognition. Yeah, Childcare is incredibly hard, demanding work, but it was a perfect fit for my goals and my life during that time. My kids grew up in a house full of playmates of all different ages. They got to experience group field trips and activities that are so much more fun with 6 kids than 2, like kickball. You can't play kickball with 2 people, right? And I was able to earn a very good income while being home with my children. That early career brought in some of the things I'm longing for now in my life. More creativity, more play, more time outdoors in nature, and doing something that actually makes a true difference in the world. As a business, it worked differently from direct sales and MLM because the demand was genuine and the service was tangible. I didn't have to convince anyone of anything. I didn't have to drum up demand, create a need, or desperately chase down customers. I didn't have to beg anybody. And P.S., doing all those things is part of the little red lipstick lie mythology, too. Because recruiters usually don't mention any of that when they're trying to sign you up. Families on base needed care they could trust, and I was the #1 provider and the only one that was nationally accredited. So my business was able to grow without any marketing effort at all. It worked because my gifts, creativity, caring, communication, teaching, nurturing, those were the actual product, not some trinket made of plastic. And I think that distinction matters for you too, not just for me, because there's a real difference between thinking, I must just be bad at business or teaching or whatever it might be for you, and realizing, that particular model just wasn't a fit for how I naturally work. One of those statements is a story about your worth, and the other one is useful information. This is a great question for journaling. Ask yourself where, whatever you were doing at the time, whether that was for your career or something else in your life, where did things work smoothly, even easily? When did you feel most natural and most like you? And I don't mean when did it look good from the outside to anyone watching you, or even how the math looked on paper. I'm suggesting you think about when did what you were doing actually feel sustainable and meaningful? Like you were doing what you were genuinely built to do. I encourage you to think about that because it's an answer worth paying attention to. It will tell you something true and valuable about yourself that no business coach or hustle culture quote is ever going to tell you. I'm going to repeat myself on purpose here because I want to make sure you hear this. And I'll say it slightly differently. If something isn't working and doesn't seem like a fit, it's not that you are bad at it. Please, please, please think about the reframe of, this doesn't match who I am and my natural gifts, strengths, and the conditions that I need to thrive. So here's what happened after the red car years and after I closed the childcare business when we moved off base. I kept looking for the business thing that would work for me like it seemed to work for everybody else. MLM, direct sales, website design, social media management. Every few years, I tried something new. Each time with that little hint of excitement at the start, this one's going to work. This one's going to be different. And every time, a similar result. Like hiking up Mount Washington in New Hampshire with a 50-pound backpack, while wind and snow are blasting in your face, pushing you back down. It was frustrating and exhausting because every year when tax time rolled around, I'd look at the number on my tax form versus the hours and effort I was putting in, and the numbers just didn't justify the effort. Have you ever experienced something like this in your life? Something that you keep going back to, trying and hustling to make it work, thinking, this time it's going to be different. This time it's going to work. And every time it doesn't come together the way you hoped, you assume the problem's you. Not the model, the myth, the poor fit, or those sneaky core beliefs. I was stuck in that loop for a long time. What I didn't understand then is that I wasn't making rational business decisions. I was running a nervous system program, One that got installed when I was a little girl, watching my mom with her customers, absorbing the belief that a woman who builds her own business is a woman who's worth something. And a program that gets installed that early, wrapped in that much warmth and love and genuine admiration, it doesn't just uninstall because the results stop showing up. I shared with you that I lost a remote job that I loved last year, and then I still haven't replaced it. Well, at the same time I was applying for jobs and hearing only silence, I started building yet another service business. I'd already cycled through several of these, and you heard some of them. And here I was doing it all over again with something I'm skilled at, podcast audio and video editing, and I kept trying to make it better. Just one more before and after example, one more testimonial, a pricing tweak, and on with busy work. And remember, I'm raising and potty training 2 rescue puppies right now, too. So life is nuts. I started having too many days in a row when it felt like it was just impossible to finish my to-do list, to even make a dent in it. I was feeling frustrated with myself and entirely exhausted. And in that tiredness, I asked myself yet again, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep building and pivoting and starting over when the hours I'm putting in and the results I'm getting back are so far apart? Like universes apart. What the heck is driving this? Because building a business doesn't feel like a passion anymore. It feels like I can't stop. I journaled for a while and then started a conversation with AI to help mirror back to me the common patterns of what I was saying. And the AI suggested I think about if it might be possible that I'm afraid of stopping and being still. And it went on to clarify a bit because that didn't resonate with me. I didn't understand what it was asking. Like, stopping what? What are you talking about? And for the first time, I realized that my push to make it work was a pattern tied to my beliefs and fed by the girl boss, MLM, little red lipstick, build your empire culture. AI flat out asked me, what would actually happen if you stopped trying to make a new service business work? And my answer was, not much would change, except I wouldn't be exhausted and I'd get more of my life back. We chatted about several other things that night, including what my actual passion is, what naturally lights me up, and what I'd be doing if earning money was magically removed as a life requirement. Wouldn't that be fabulous, huh? We chatted about my values, my priorities, and the working style that feeds my soul. And sadly, AI would make a suggestion and I'd say, but, then this will happen. Because I was being influenced by various nervous system patterns and fear triggers and deeply ingrained patterns. And then it suggested all on its own something that I think is brilliant. I didn't ask for a 9-day experiment. It's the AI that came up with it on its own as something safe that I could try for just a short, temporary time span without uprooting my entire life or making any dire, irreversible changes. This feels vulnerable to say out loud. So far, I've only shared this with my sister. For 90 days, I'm working on 3 things. One is really difficult, one is necessary but not desirable, and one is exciting. So, number 1 is the tough one. I am committed to not building anything new. No new services, ebooks, programs, courses. No rewriting, tweaking, or reworking what already exists. Nothing new. I'm really good at brainstorming without trying. And for me, one thing snowballs into like 10 things that I have to plan because it will make the first thing awesome. And it will also bloat my to-do list and drain my energy. Here's a real example of what this normally looks like. Just a few days before I started this experiment, I was planning an episode about grief. 1 episode. And then I realized there's so much I want to explore about this topic. So pretty soon, I'm outlining not just one episode, but a 5-part series about several different types of grief, because to me, I think they're all important and I want to share them. And then I'm thinking about what kind of experts I want to bring in. And I want to make sure it's worth their time. So somehow now I'm planning a companion ebook, or maybe it's an actual book on Amazon, and on and on and on. And nobody's pushing me to make things bigger. It's part of my internal wiring. And often it really isn't serving me. It's just draining me. And then there's the podcast editing business I started. Yeah, I've had some interest, a few consultations, but no takers yet. And after working through the misalignment with my working preferences, this is likely not even a good match for me. So, changing my packages, offering different services to help DIY podcasters, and updating my prices, none of that is likely going to do anything but just eat up more time and keep me frustrated. This doesn't mean that service necessarily has to end. It means I'm going to take these 90 days to fully pause, to let the website live in the world as it currently is, and to just take my mind off it for at least 90 days. Number 2, because I do need to bring in some income, I'm going to set some limited time blocks in my schedule to apply for remote part-time work that better aligns with not just my skills, but also my lifestyle and my values. In my years of direct sales and rah-rah meetings, we called this a JOB because it was like a dirty word you didn't want to say. I mean, why would you ever want one when you could be your own boss and earn more money, they'd say. So I'm doing this out of necessity and trying to consciously have a different mindset than the one that was drilled into me for decades. Securing part-time work is nothing to be ashamed of, and I'm tired of it feeling that way. It will take the financial pressure off while my long-term vision blossoms. Number 3, this is the exciting one for me. I've been asked to be a podcast guest on other wellness shows, but I haven't had the time to devote to it. But in these 90 days, my goal is to be a guest on 3 to 5 shows to expand my mission, share what I've learned, and help new friends find wow. This show is my true north right now. It's the most aligned thing in my life, in the heart of where my vision is leading me. During this experiment, I'll have more time to invest in the show, in my research and writing, and I'll have more energy to show up as my best self here where it matters most to me. These 90 days are all about nurturing my frazzled nervous system, prioritizing self-care, letting go of beliefs and myths that aren't helping me, and trusting that the right things will grow when I let what's most meaningful have more of my attention. That's it. I know it sounds simple, but I assure you it isn't, for me at least. If you start a 90-day challenge, the things that you set aside and the things that you embrace will be unique to you. Even within the first few days of making this commitment, my brain started generating new ideas, and good ones. I have a book idea brewing right now, but it's been set aside for at least 90 days because I'm serious about this experiment. My body, mind, and especially my nervous system need this. It's only been 8 days as I'm recording this, and my nervous system has already had plenty to say about it. I woke up the very first morning in a full panic about pausing promotion for my podcast editing service. I had some stomach-churning doubts about whether to share any of this on the show because last week's episode and this one felt uncomfortably raw. I had fears about what anyone considering working with me might think if they heard it, and what the consequences might be if I decided to continue with the editing business at the end of this experiment after saying I didn't want it. I mean, who would take me seriously? Who's going to hire a podcast editor who just told you she doesn't want to be a podcast editor? I felt fear perk up again as I wondered what my friends and family would think of me after hearing these 2 episodes. Did I make myself sound like a blazing failure? AI helped me work through these fears and remember why I chose to do this in the first place. And then a few days later, I caught myself mid pattern, about to pile some more self directed obligations onto my to do list. And I successfully stopped myself, and that felt like progress. As part of my editing business, I had been doing a lot of logistical work in the background, trying to get a free podcaster mastermind community off the ground to support other podcasters. But after reaching out to all the people who said they were interested, I only had 4 applications. And I knew that wasn't going to be enough to justify my time and my financial investment, and that it wouldn't be as helpful as I envisioned for the people who were involved. So what I caught myself doing was feeling sorry for the 4 people who did apply. I felt like I owed them something. Like I had to make it right that this didn't get off the ground. Even though it was free, I was just about to reach out to each of them individually and offer a one-on-one meeting to see if I could give them any help. But I felt the pattern. It kind of felt like guilt. And trying to make sure I went above and beyond, so they'd like me, feel good about me. I chatted with AI a lot during those first few days as my nervous system was freaking out after all this started to sink in as real, that I'm really doing it. I started this episode talking about happy memories and the quiet blueprints they hand us. The tiny lipsticks, the Sunday dinners, the trophies. I'm ready to look at things like this with clarity, to come to understand what they installed in me, and to choose consciously whether I want to keep running those programs. That's what I'm inviting you to think about this week. Where in your life do you feel like you're doing something on autopilot and you're not sure why? You may have even heard yourself say, "Why do I keep doing this?" I encourage you to journal about it and just notice what comes up. Because you can't make a conscious choice about a pattern or program you haven't recognized yet. And maybe you'll decide, like me, to use AI cautiously, responsibly, with an open mind to see what patterns it might reflect back to you about what you wrote. Have a fabulous week, my friends.